Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. We are diving headfirst into a story that is, well, equal parts laugh-out-loud hilarious and surprisingly deeply meaningful. We're unpacking a cinematic journey that quite literally flips reality on its head, and it does it to teach its characters, and honestly all of us, some pretty profound life lessons. We're breaking down the wild cosmic ride of the film BISH Stole My Body. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for the incredible twists and the major takeaways we've pulled from this one. Okay, let's be real for a second. Have you ever just caught yourself daydreaming about trading lives with someone else? You know, maybe someone way wealthier, someone famous, or just a person who seems to have their entire life completely figured out? It's a super relatable fantasy, right? We've all been there. But what's fascinating is that this movie takes that classic supernatural body swap premise and asks a much darker, much more urgent question. What if the universe literally forced you into the life of someone you completely and utterly ignore? To get a feel for this, you have to look at the extreme, almost jarring contrast between our two main characters before the universe decides to step in. It is literally a tale of two entirely different worlds. On one hand, you have Olivia's reality. Mansions, Botox appointments, stressing over the perfect influencer birthday shoot, and constantly ordering around her personal chefs. And then there's Amina. Her daily life is a harsh, brutal reality of extreme poverty. We're talking relentless physical labor like fetching water and scrubbing toilets, all while enduring constant, soul-crushing verbal abuse. They live in the exact same city, but they couldn't be further apart. To really grasp just how desperate Amina's situation is, you have to look at what she faces at home every single day. She endures this heartbreaking, relentless verbal abuse from the woman she calls her mother. She's constantly branded a liability, told she's completely useless, and just mocked endlessly. She's forced to do all the heavy lifting and cleaning, yet she's treated like this massive burden just for needing to, eat. Her self-worth has been systematically dismantled just so she can survive. And then there's Olivia. Talk about the complete opposite end of the spectrum. She is the textbook definition of a spoiled, demanding heiress who takes every single ounce of her luxury completely for granted. When she speaks to her staff, or even her supposed friends, it's just dripping with utter disdain. Her absolute biggest problems in life, her stylist bringing the wrong outfit for her Get Ready With Me video, or making sure her personal chef perfectly prepares her chicken salad. She operates with a staggering level of arrogance and literally zero empathy for the people serving her. So this sets the stage perfectly for the ultimate cosmic prank, trading places by cosmic design. Because how does this all kick off? It isn't just some random accidental magic trick. The story frames this as the universe deliberately flipping their worlds upside down to set things right. It all starts with a reckless, drunken car crash involving Olivia, which happens to sync up perfectly with Amina collapsing from sheer exhaustion on her end. When they wake up, bam! The universe has pulled the ultimate prank. They've completely swapped bodies. You can just imagine the absolute sheer panic, which the film plays up brilliantly for comedy. Olivia, the pampered influencer, wakes up utterly trapped in Amina's slum. Stripped of her privilege, her money, her status, even her own reflection. She tries to run back to her luxury estate, screaming that she isn't a witch, only to be literally chased away by her own security guards, who have no idea who she is. Suddenly, she's the one being screamed out to go fetch water and scrub the floors. It is a spectacular fall from grace. But on the flip side, we have Amina's experience. And honestly, it's pure, unadulterated joy. While Olivia is living out her worst nightmare, Amina is suddenly thrust into a world where she gets to enjoy fancy food that isn't rationed out. She has a beautiful pool, a closet stuffed with designer clothes. She even gets to go on a super highly anticipated date with Cross, a reality TV star from Big Brother. For Amina, this isn't some terrible curse. It's a long overdue vacation from a life of total misery. She is absolutely thriving in her newfound privilege. Now, this wild body swap doesn't just stay a funny premise. It actually unravels a massive, deeply buried central mystery. There are a series of really desperate investigations by Olivia, who is, remember, still trapped in Amina's body. A shocking family secret comes to light. Years ago, the woman raising Amina actually worked as a maid for Olivia's family, and she had an affair with Olivia's dad. When the dad was dying, he actually left Amina an inheritance in his will. But after he died, Olivia's mom and a totally corrupt lawyer secretly altered the documents to steal the entire thing. Turns out, these two women from drastically different worlds are actually half-sisters. Crazy, right? The absolute emotional peak of the story hits with this chilling confession from Olivia's mother. When she is finally confronted about the stolen inheritance, there is zero remorse, none. She unapologetically admits to the whole crime, basically saying there was no way she was going to let a maid's daughter take 50% of their massive fortune. And then she tries to justify this extreme wickedness by claiming she did it for Olivia. This, right here, proves that Amina's life of severe, crushing poverty wasn't just a run of bad luck. It was intentionally, maliciously manufactured by Olivia's own family. This revelation, it forces a massive, fundamental character shift in Olivia. Having actually lived Amina's brutal reality firsthand, she can't just brush her mother's actions under the rug anymore. She makes a drastic choice. Using her temporary position in Amina's body and the inside knowledge she's gained, she marches right into that corrupt lawyer's office. She straight up blackmails him, threatening to expose him to the Bar Association and the entire company board unless he completely undoes the fraud and legally restores Amina to her rightful fortune and legacy. And that brings us to the core of this whole thing, lessons in radical empathy, and what the universe actually wanted to teach. Because the universe didn't just swap their bodies for a quick laugh, it was a really profound teaching moment. We throw the word empathy around a lot these days, but this story provides a literal textbook definition. True empathy isn't just looking at someone less fortunate and feeling pity for them, it's the actual ability to understand and share their feelings. Olivia could only learn this by literally living Amina's nightmare, feeling the actual physical hunger, enduring the exhausting labor, and suffering that daily verbal abuse. That forced perspective completely shattered her arrogance and replaced it with genuine, hard-earned understanding. But, the lessons weren't just for Olivia. The swap was incredibly empowering for Amina, too. By experiencing a life where she was suddenly catered to and, more importantly, treated with basic human decency, she finally recognized her own self-worth. So when the universe ultimately decides they've learned enough and swaps them back to their original bodies, Amina doesn't cower anymore. She stands right up to her abusive mother, completely refusing to be a punching bag any longer, and literally tells her to go fetch her own water. She finally finds her voice and demands the respect she always deserved. We also have to talk about the undeniable universal theme of karma weaving its way through this entire narrative. Karma is all about cause and effect. The wicked, incredibly greedy actions of Olivia's mother, stealing a child's inheritance just to hoard wealth, created this massive cosmic imbalance. And that karma, it eventually caught up to her. Not through the courts initially, but through a bizarre cosmic intervention that forced her own precious daughter to suffer the exact crushing poverty she intentionally inflicted on Amina. But perhaps the absolute most vital lesson here is about how we actually make amends. True redemption requires actionable justice, not just empty apologies. When Olivia and Amina swap back, Olivia doesn't just look at her and say, "Wow, I'm so sorry your life was hard." No, she takes concrete structural action. She completely legalizes the transfer of the company's shares, she hands Amina a permanent seat on the board, and she forces her mother and that lawyer to pay for damages. She structurally, legally fixes the wrong that was done. When you look at this beautiful redemption arc and summarize it, the transformation is honestly incredible. We started with the old Olivia, wildly selfish, entirely superficial, and incredibly arrogant to literally everyone around her. But going through the intense crucible of this cosmic prank, she transformed into a deeply empathetic woman, someone willing to hold her own toxic family accountable, and ultimately stepping up to be a genuinely supportive sister to a woman she once wouldn't even look twice at. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with a thought to chew on. If you had to wake up tomorrow and live someone else's life for just a single day, all their hidden struggles, their invisible burdens, the exact way people treat them, how would it change the way you interact with them when you got back to your own life? It's a pretty provocative thought, right? And it's a really powerful reminder to practice a little more radical empathy in our own daily lives, without needing the universe to pull a crazy cosmic prank on us to do it. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this truly fascinating story. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.